Hello class, how are you? I hope you all are good. Today we'll start with a new chapter that is Animate CC layers in animation. So we know what is animation? Setting up the pictures in a sequence that it works as an illusion for you. So in this software we need not to create our graphics, so we can simply import our graphics, be it a vector or a bitmap. So in this chapter we learn to work on layers, timeline, how to add frames and how to animate and different types of animation like tweening animation, morphing. So let's plug in the chapter. Importing graphics in Animate, layers, creating a layer, creating a layer folder, working with layers in timeline, masking, symbols and instances, animation in Animate, adding frames, frame by frame animation, tweening. Let's just start the chapter.
Importing graphics in Animate. In Animate, we do not need to create all our graphics. We can import bitmaps and vector graphics from many other applications. When we import a bitmap graphic, it is immediately added to the Animate library for use. We can add it in other frames in our movie. The vector graphics and animations created in Animate can be used in websites, videos, interactive applications, video games, television programs, and web-based applications. Bitmap graphic. A bitmap, also called raster graphic, is composed of many tiny parts called pixels, which are of many different colors. When we enlarge, rotate or stretch, these graphics become ragged and suffer loss in their resolution. Graphic Interchange Format GIF and Joint Photographic Experts Group JPEG are examples of graphic image file types that contain bitmaps. Vector graphic. A vector graphic is not made up of pixels. Instead, vector graphic comprises paths, which are defined by a start and end point as well as with other points, curves and angles along the way. We can enlarge, rotate or stretch this graphic without any loss in its resolution. These graphics are very small in size as compared to the bitmap graphics. Importing a graphic. After we open Adobe Animate software, it's time to import graphics. Follow the steps to import a graphic. Step 1. Click on File, Import, Import to Stage or press Ctrl+R. The Import dialog box appears. Step 2. Click on these areas to navigate to the folder or drive where the file have been stored. Step 3. Click on the file to import. Step 4. Click on Open. The graphic appears on stage as a grouped object. The graphic also appears in the library panel. Layers. Layers are the key components to work with graphic objects and animation. They are effective in adding depth to our graphic objects. Layers enable to organize the artwork in the document. Objects can be drawn and edited on one layer without affecting objects on another layer. They are useful for more complex movies or working with multiple animations. Delete layer button. Insert layer button. Layer name. Show hide all layers. Lock unlock all layers. To draw, paint or otherwise modify a layer or folder, select the layer in the timeline to make it active. A pencil icon next to a layer or folder name in the timeline indicates that the layer or folder is active. Only one layer can be active at a time. Types of layers. There are several types of layers used in Animate CC. Normal layers. Normal layers contain most of the artwork in a.fla file. Guide layers. Guide layers contain strokes that can be used to guide the arrangement of objects on other layers. These layers are also used to guide the motion of classic tween animations on other layers. Motion tween layers. Motion tween layers contain objects animated with motion tweens. Mask layers. Mask layers contain objects used as masks to hide selected portions of layers below them. Masked layers. Masked layers are layers beneath a mask layer that is associated with the mask layer. Only the portion of the masked layer revealed by the mask is visible. Benefits of using layers. Working with layers in animation lets composite animation scenes in a way that doesn't require fitting everything together perfectly in each frame. Layers give more freedom in editing and give a way to keep objects from merging on one layer when needed them to be separate in others. Layers can be rearranged, allowing to change the order in which objects are displayed, thus changing the composition of the scene. Individual layers can be turned on or off temporarily, which allows operators to focus on one particular part of a project at a time without the distraction of the other layers. With layers, different effects can be applied to individual elements of a single graphic. Apply transparency to an individual element of a file by placing it on a layer and applying the effect to only that one layer. Creating a layer. When a layer is created, it appears above the selected layer. The newly added layer becomes the active layer. Follow the steps to create a layer. Step 1. Click on the New Layer button at the bottom of the timeline. Step 2. Select Insert Timeline Layer. Or right-click a layer name in the timeline and select Insert Layer from the context menu. Creating a layer folder. Follow the steps to create a layer folder. Step 1. Select a layer or folder in the timeline. Step 2. Select Insert Timeline Layer folder. Click the new folder icon at the bottom of the timeline. The new folder appears above the layer or folder you have selected. Organizing layers and layer folders. To organize the document, rearrange layers and layer folders in the timeline. Layer folders organize the workflow by letting us place layers in a tree structure. To see the layers, a folder contains without affecting which layers are visible on the stage, expand or collapse the folder. Folders can contain both layers and other folders, allowing to organize layers in the same way we organize files on the computer. The layer controls in the timeline affects all layers within a folder. For example, locking a layer folder locks all layers within that folder. To move a layer or layer folder into a layer folder, drag the layer or layer folder name to the destination layer folder name. To change the order of layers or folders, drag one or more layers or folders in the timeline to the desired position. To expand or collapse a folder, click the triangle to the left of the folder name. To expand or collapse all folders, right-click and select Expand All Folders or Collapse All Folders. Working with layers in timeline. We can select, rename, delete, lock or hide a layer quickly from the timeline. Selecting a layer to make a layer active. Either select the layer in the timeline or select a stage object in the layer. The active layer is highlighted in the timeline and is indicated with a pencil icon. Renaming a layer. By default, Animate CC assigns names to new layers by the order in which they are created, Layer 1, Layer 2 and so on. Double-click the name of the layer or folder in the timeline and enter new name. Or select the layer or folder in the timeline and select Modify Timeline Layer Properties. Enter the new name in the name box and click OK. Deleting a layer. To select the layer or folder, click its name in the timeline or any frame in the layer. Follow the steps to delete a layer. Step 1. Click the Delete Layer button in the timeline. Step 2. Click on Delete button. When we delete a layer folder, all the enclosed layers and their contents are also deleted. Locking and unlocking layer. A layer can be locked to avoid moving or deleting elements by mistake. Follow the steps to lock a layer. Step 1. Click on the layer to make it active. Step 2. In the timeline, click on the white dot under the lock column. A padlock icon appears, indicating the layer is now locked, and we cannot edit the content. Step 3. To unlock the layer, click on the padlock icon next to the layer name in the timeline, showing and hiding a layer or folder. If we have many layers in the project, we can see the layers we are working on while hiding others. To hide a layer or folder, click in the eye icon column to the right of the layer or folder name in the timeline. To show the layer or folder, click it again. To hide all the layers and folders in the timeline, click the eye icon. To show all layers and folders, click it again. A cross mark appears on the layer bullet, and all the objects or shapes we have made in that layer will hide. To make it visible again, we can click on cross in the eye icon column. To show or hide multiple layers or folders, drag through the eye icon column. To hide all layers and folders other than the current layer or folder, Alt plus click in the eye icon column. To show all layers and folders, Alt plus click it again. Masking. For spotlight effects and transitions, use a mask layer to create a hole through which underlying layers are visible. A mask item can be a fill shape, a typed object, an instance of a graphic symbol, or a movie clip. Group multiple layers under a single mask layer to create sophisticated effects. Creating a mask layer. Follow the steps to create a mask layer. Step 1. Click a layer to insert a mask. Step 2. Click on New Layer icon. The new layer appears above the selected layer. Animate adds a new layer to the timeline. Step 3. Right-click on the new layer name. Step 4. Click on Mask. Animate marks the layers as a mask layer, locks it against any changes, and links it to the layer below. Draw a mask. Follow the steps to draw a mask. Step 1. Click on the lock icon on mask layer to unlock. The lock icon becomes dot icon. The mask layer is denoted by the mask layer icon. Step 2. Place some text on the mask layer. Step 3. Lock the mask layer by clicking on dot in the lock column. The dot icon becomes lock icon. We can see the masking effect on the stage. Symbols and instances. A is an object in Animate. This object is symbol stored in the library which can be used repeatedly throughout a movie. Symbol can be a graphic object, a movie clip, a graphic created in another program, or a button. Sound clips may also be symbols. When we drag a symbol from the library to the stage, we create an instance. Using instance does not affect the file, no matter how many times we reuse a symbol. We can create many instances of the same symbol, each with its own set of properties like different colors, different sizes, etc., to use in our Animate movie as instances. Creating a symbol. We can create symbols directly on the stage. First, create any object or drawing, then convert it into a symbol to use it throughout the project. Follow the steps to create a symbol. Step 1. Select the object to convert into a symbol. Step 2. Right-click on the selected object. A menu appears. Step 3. Click on Convert to Symbol from the menu or press F8. The Convert to Symbol dialog box appears. Step 4. Type a name for the symbol. Step 5. Click on Graphic from the Type drop-down list. By clicking on the icon next to registration, we can select our symbol registration point. Each of the little squares is clickable. By clicking the text next to folder, we can place a symbol in a subfolder of our library. By clicking the Advanced option, we can see the advanced symbol creation options. Step 6. Click on OK. The symbol appears in the library and is ready to be used in our project. We can preview the symbol if we have more than one symbol by clicking on the symbol name. The preview of symbol appears in the top section of library window. Inserting an instance. After creating the symbol in our library, we can add as many instances of that symbol to the stage as we like. Instance refers to the copy of the original symbol. This will not put much impact on the file size of our exported movie. Follow the steps to create an instance. Step 1. Open the layer to insert an instance. Step 2. Click on Library tab. Step 3. Click on the symbol name. Step 4. Click and drag the symbol from the library over the stage. Step 5. Release the mouse button at the position where we need the instance to appear on the stage. The instance of the symbol appears on the stage. Animate does not let us place an instance on the stage on a locked layer. We need to make sure that there is no unlocked layer on the stage. Organizing symbols with folders. After creating the symbol, we can organize the symbols in the folders. We can also add and delete folders and move symbols from one folder to another. Follow the steps to organize symbols with folders. Step 1. To create a new folder, click on New Folder icon from the bottom of Library window. A folder appears with a temporary name. Step 2. Type a new name for the folder and press the Enter key. To view folder contents, double-click on the folder. To move a symbol into the folder, simply drag the symbol over the folder icon. When we release the mouse button, the symbol moves into the folder. To delete the folder, click on it, and then click on Delete icon from the bottom of Library window. Animation in Animate. Animations can be used for a lively message or for entertainment. Animation feature is the most exciting aspect of Adobe Animate. We can place our Animate project on a web page for others to view. Animations make a website come to life. In animation effects, the scene or object changes smoothly from one frame to the next, creating an illusion of movement. Setting movie dimensions and speed for animation. We need to set up the movie size and speed at which we want to play the movie. A movie dimension refers to its horizontal and vertical size on stage. The play speed of the movie determines the number of frames per second (FPS) in which the animation occurs. The frame rate is measured by the FPS. A frame rate that is too slow makes the animation appear to stutter, stop and start, while a frame rate that is too fast blurs the details of the animation. A frame rate of 30 frames per second is the default setting for new Animate documents, which gives the best results on the web. Follow the steps to select movie dimensions and speed for animation. Step 1. Click on Modify menu. Step 2. Click on Document or press Ctrl+J. The Document Settings dialog box appears. Step 3. Select the measuring unit example pixels. Step 4. Drag the mouse left to decrease value of width and drag right to increase value of width for the movie in stage size. Step 5. Drag the mouse left to decrease value of height and drag it right to increase value of height for the movie in stage size. Step 6. Drag the mouse left to decrease number of frames per second and right to increase number of frames per second for the movie to play. Step 7. Click on OK. Adding frames. We can add frames and keyframes to add time to the Animate movie. A frame is the empty frame along the timeline. A keyframe is the frame which has an animation in it, or where a new symbol appears in the timeline. It is used for critical points in the timeline where content changes. Keyframes are also used to mark the beginning or ending of an animation. We can add or remove frames to adjust timing accordingly. A keyframe is indicated on the timeline with a black circle. The frame where a keyframe span ends has a white rectangle. When we insert an object in that keyframe, the black circle changes to black dot. The frames between the two black dots become light gray. A blank keyframe can be added to the timeline as a placeholder for symbols we plan to add later, or to clearly leave the frame blank. Animate automatically removes all of our content from the stage at a blank keyframe to start fresh at a certain point on the timeline. We don't have to manually delete objects from the stage. Adding regular frame. Follow the steps to add a regular frame. Step 1. Click an empty frame on the timeline to insert a new frame. Step 2. Click on Insert menu. The Insert menu appears. Step 3. Click on Timeline. Step 4. Click on Frame to insert a frame or press F5. Animate inserts regular frames between the last regular frame selected in Step 1. If we add a regular frame in the midst of existing regular frames, all the frames to the right of the insertion move over to make room for the new frame. Adding keyframe. Follow the steps for adding keyframe. Step 1. Click on an empty frame or a regular frame on the timeline for placing a new keyframe. Step 2. Click on Insert menu. The Insert menu appears. Step 3. Click on Timeline. Step 4. Click on Keyframe. If the selected frame in Step 1 was a regular frame, Animate converts it to a keyframe. If the frame is an empty frame, Animate inserts regular frames in between the last keyframe up to the selected frame in Step 1. Frame-by-frame animation. Frame-by-frame animation is also known as stop-motion animation. It is achieved by manipulating a physical object and making it appear to move on its own by shooting one frame, manipulating the object, then shooting another frame, and so on. We can create the illusion of movement in an animation movie by changing the placement of the stage content from keyframe to keyframe. Adding background in the layer. The first keyframe is selected in the layer by default when we start Adobe Animate. Follow the steps to add background in the layer. Step 1. Double-click on the layer and rename it as Jungle Scene. Step 2. Click on the keyframe of Jungle Scene layer. Step 3. Create a scene using the tools or import an image on the stage. For importing the image, click on File Import to Stage. Import dialog box appears. Select the file and click on Open. Step 4. Click on Frame on the timeline to select keyframes location. Step 5. Click on Insert menu. Step 6. Click on Timeline. Step 7. Click on Keyframe. Animate creates our keyframe. Animate also creates frames between our keyframes. Adding content to first keyframe of new layer. Follow the steps to add content in the first keyframe of new layer. Step 8. Insert a second layer and rename it as monkey. Step 9. Click on the keyframe of new monkey layer. Step 10. Place the object to animate on the stage. We can create a new object using drawing tool. Adding the second keyframe. Follow the steps to add the second keyframe. Step 11. Click on the next frame in the timeline to add a keyframe. Step 12. To add a keyframe, right-click on the frame, and then select Insert Keyframe from the menu that appears. Animate inserts a keyframe that copies the content from the previous frame. Moving the object slightly. Follow the steps to move the object slightly. Step 13. Change the object slightly to animate. For example, move the object a bit on stage or change the appearance of the object. Adding the third keyframe. Follow the steps to add the third keyframe. Step 14. Click on the next frame in the layer and add a keyframe. Animate copies the content from the previous frame. Step 15. Change the object slightly again. Step 16. Repeat steps 14 and 15 until we finish moving the object. Playing back the movie. Follow the steps to play back the movie. Step 17. Click on the first keyframe in the layer and press Enter key. Adobe Animate plays the entire movie. The project is now completed to play and replay. Tweening. Tween can be applied when we animate moving symbols. A tween defines 2 points of movement in the timeline with 2 keyframes. It lets Animate calculate all the in-between frames necessary to get from first point to the last point. In frame-by-frame animation, we manually input the changes made to each frame in the sequence, while in tween, we only specify the first frame and the last frame, and let Animate calculate the in-between frames. There are 3 types of tweening in Animate: classical tweening, motion tweening, shape tweening. Creating a classic tweening. We can use the classic tween to animate between 2 keyframes. Follow the steps to create a classic tweening. Step 1. Select a keyframe where to start the classic tween. Step 2. Place the symbol to animate on stage. The position of the symbol should be the starting point of the animation. Step 3. Click on the last frame to include in the tween. Step 4. Insert a keyframe. Step 5. Move the symbol to the position for the motion tween to end. Step 6. Right-click between the 2 keyframes that make up our tween to select the frames. Step 7. Click on Create Classic Tween from the menu that appears. Animate adds color to the tween frames and draws on arrow through them. Follow the steps to test classic tweening. Step 8. To view a classic tween in action, click on the first frame of the classic tween. Step 9. Press Enter key. Adobe Animate plays the entire animation sequence. We can also test the movie by clicking on Control menu and then clicking on Test Movie. Creating a motion tweening. Motion tween is a feature that allows us to easily animate the motion of an object. Instead of defining the location of the object in every frame, we can create a motion tween, which will automatically move the object from the beginning location to ending location. Once the tween has been created, we can click on any frame within the motion tween and move or rotate the object. Animate automatically builds a motion path animating the frames between the first frame and the next keyframe. Follow the steps to create a motion tweening. Step 1. Select a keyframe to start the motion tween. Step 2. Place the symbol to animate on stage. The position of the symbol should be the starting point of the animation. Step 3. Right-click on the last frame to include in the tween. Step 4. Click on Insert Frame. Step 5. Right-click between the two frames that make up the tween to select the frames. Step 6. Click on Create Motion Tween in the menu that appears. Animate colors are tween layer blue. Step 7. Drag the symbol to the position for the motion tween to end. A path will appear on which the object will move. We can create curved paths for our objects to follow during a tween. Animate defaults to a straight line, but we can modify it simply by dragging the anchor points along the path. Step 8. To view a motion tween in action, click on the first frame of the motion tween. Step 9. Press Enter key. Animate plays the entire animation sequence. We can also test the movie by clicking on Control menu and then click on Test Movie. Creating a shape tweening. We can use shape tweening to morph one shape to another. For example, we can morph a circle into a square. Shape tweens can only be applied to shapes. Follow the steps to create a shape tweening. Step 1. Select the frame in which we need to start a shape tween. Step 2. Draw the object to animate in frame 1. Step 3. Right-click on the last frame to include in the tween. Step 4. Click on Insert Blank Keyframe. Step 5. Draw the shape into which the image needs to be morphed or changed. Step 6. Right-click between the two frames that make up the shape tween to select the frames. Step 7. Click on Create Shape Tween from the menu that appears. Animate colors the frames of our shape tween. Step 8. Open the Properties panel. Step 9. Drag and enter a classic ease value of 100. Step 10. Click the Blend menu and select Angular. Angular blending attempts to keep the straight lines straight and corners sharp as the animation plays. Follow the steps to test shape tweening. Step 11. To view a shape tween in action, click on the first frame of the shape tween. Step 12. Press Enter key. Animate plays the animation. The shape morphs from circle to polygon. Throwback. Layers are the key components to work with graphic objects and animation. Objects can be drawn and edited on one layer without affecting objects on another layer. To expand and collapse a folder, click the triangle to the left of the folder name. We can select, rename, delete, lock or hide a layer quickly from the timeline. Mask layers contain objects used as masks to hide selected portions of layers below them. A symbol is an object in Animate. When we drag a symbol from the library to the stage, we create an instance. Animations can be used for a lively message or for entertainment. A keyframe is indicated on the timeline with a black circle. Frame-by-frame animation is also known as stop-motion animation. In Animate, The three types of tweening are classic, motion and shape tweening.